We have one agenda item, that is Senate Concurrent Resolution 101. The presenter will be Representative Marmon. Representative, if you could come to the podium, introduce yourself for the record, and then present the Concurrent Resolution 101.
Okay, good morning. Oops, I got it. First time. Oh, okay. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Ways and Means Committee. I'm District 11 State Representative Kent Marmon from Caldwell. I'm here today to speak with you about the Senate Concurrent Resolution 101, a resolution written and adopted by the body across the rotunda to oppose a 26% legislative pay increase that was recommended by the Citizens Committee, made up of 3 appointees of the governor and 3 others by the Idaho Supreme Court. Each one of us are just one of approximately 1.8 million people, our friends and neighbors, who share this beautiful state with us. We have been called to this time and place to work to improve the lives of the people we serve. Considering a pay increase of this magnitude sends a message to the people of Idaho that we, the citizens' legislature, is out of touch with them. Idaho's families are struggling to secure housing, feed their families, and keep their heads above water. In recent days, I've learned of a program in our public schools called McKinney Vento that serve the needs of children who have no place to call home. And there are thousands of them across Idaho. I was told that there were about 1,500 in Nampa. I don't have the number for Caldwell. That's a lot of kids. Seniors are threatened with the prospect of losing their homes due to high property taxes and very little growth in their Social Security benefits that they depend on for all their needs. People are suffering under staggering inflation, hitting them from every direction. Now is not the time to add to a state budget that has already grown by 55% in just 5 years. Now is not the time to send a message to other agencies in our state government that we are on a payroll spending spree. Holding the line on spending starts with us as a body, and we need to show strength and leadership. Last but not least, we should not be delivering relief to the legislature until we deliver real relief to the people of Idaho. I call your attention to Resolution 2025-13 from the Idaho Republican Party. They voted to reject any pay increase until we give at least 28% tax relief to the people of Idaho. Most of us, many of us, signed a pledge to the Republican Party to uphold their platform. I urge you to consider that. I urge you to send this resolution to our fellow state representatives in the House with a due pass recommendation, and thank you in advance for standing with the people of Idaho. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative. Committee, any questions for the representative? Representative Monks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me.
Representative, thank you for that. You'd mentioned that this was, I can't remember the exact words, but an unprecedented amount of pay increase. How much is that actual pay increase that is being proposed by the Citizens Committee on Compensation?
It was a
Representative Marmon.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman and Representative Monks. It was a raise from a little over $19,900 to $25,000 a year.
Representative Monks.
Thank you. And you'd also mentioned that there was you'd be okay, at least, or if be okay with the raise if we actually provided some tax relief first. Is that kind of how that was expressed? I'm not quite sure understood what you were saying on that.
That was
Representative Marmon.
I'm sorry.
Through the chair, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks. That was the recommendation of the Idaho Republican Party.
Representative Monks.
Thank you for that. Going to go into a couple things about the bill here directly. On lines 6 and 7, you indicate the Constitution allows us to reject or reduce the legislative compensation rate there. Is this a rejection or is this a reduction?
Representative Marmon.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks, this is a rejection of the pay increase.
Representative Monks.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask another question then, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm looking at lines 22 through 26. If it's a rejection, then how come we're accepting part of the money from December 1st through to whenever this is passed?
Representative Marmon.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks, it was decided when we were writing the resolution that it would be too much of a nightmare for the employees that were that had made the payments for the payroll from December 1st to date to do the paperwork to have the money taken back from the legislators.
Representative Monks, additional question?
Yes, if I could follow up on that. So it's a reduction then, or it's a rejection? Because we're taking part of it in this proposal, but not all of it. Because we're taking it from December 1st to whenever this would be signed if it got that far.
Representative Marmon.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks, it is a rejection, but the way the payroll system works in the state of Idaho for legislative compensation, our payroll began prior to the date of this resolution being passed by the House of Representatives.
Follow-up, Representative Monks.
Thank you. So I understand that, how our payroll works, but we are taking part of, if this passed, we would take part of the pay from December 1st until it gets signed. We would accept that higher rate for that period of time. Is that right?
Representative Marmon.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks, that's correct.
So that would appear to be a follow-up. That would appear to be a reduction, not a rejection.
Representative Marmon.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Monks, I guess you could look at it that way. But this is the resolution is a rejection of the pay increase to $25,000 a year that was recommended by the Citizens Committee.
Follow-up, Representative Monks.
I have no question at this time.
Okay. Committee, any additional questions? Representative Monks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no other questions, then I would like to throw out a motion and then speak to that motion. If that'd be
Okay,
right.
a motion is in order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we lay on the table Senate Concurrent Resolution 101 and then speak to that motion.
You can speak to it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm very concerned that we're running afoul of our laws with this resolution here. We have two guiding documents. We have a constitution and we have a law, both of which we have to follow. In Title 67, 406B, the legislature decided at that time to further restrict our ability with our Constitution. Our Constitution does allow to reject or reduce a recommendation by the Compensation Committee. However, in 67, 406B, we further limited ourselves and said, well, we can reject it or accept it, and that's it. This resolution here doesn't reject or accept. It accepts it for a few months, and then it rejects it, which is a reduction. It's not a rejection. We bind ourselves with laws in this legislative body, which we can do, and we can undo if we choose to do. If we wanted to pass this particular resolution the way it is written, the proper way of doing it would be to go and modify or change 67-406, allowing ourselves to take a reduction instead of just a rejection. Then we could come back with a resolution that then was a reduction. That's one of the reasons why I think I think we need to lay this on the table. The other thing, too, I'd like to address is this concept that until we provide meaningful tax relief, the legislature doesn't need to keep up with anybody else as far as their pay structure. In the last 6 years, we've done over $4.6 billion of tax relief for the citizens of Idaho. $4.6 billion on a budget that is not even $6 billion yet. That's significant. Then to turn around and say, well, until you do $2 billion more, we don't want to hear that. The legislative body has been behind in all aspects, whether we compare ourselves to the executive branch, to the judicial branch, to state employees, to private employees. We have been so far behind that it has turned the legislative body into a meaningless organization. This is not about pay for me. This is not about pay for anybody here. This is respect for the body here. It's about future legislators who come here. In the last 15 years, legislators have received a $3,000 raise. In the last 15 years, $3,000. That's what the legislative body has received in 15 years. $3,000. Whereas you can look at the private sector. It's been over $25,000 increase in that same time. You can look in the public employees, who's been also in that $25,000 range. You can look at state employees who've received even more than that as far as during that 15 period of time. This is also about the proper role of government. We created a citizens committee to keep ourselves out of it. Let them come up with what their recommendation is. They made the recommendation. I think the recommendation was sound. I think we should accept that and move on. But if we do want to go ahead and reject their recommendation, then let's do it the proper way. We have to change our laws because currently it only allows us to accept or reject. It does not allow us to reduce it. And this is a reduction, not a rejection.
Thank you. Representative Marmon, seeing no further questions, you may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Committee, any further debate on this motion? Representative Rebel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might briefly speak to the motion.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to share a small anecdote. I'm a big fan of American history. I was once reading the biography of John Adams, and there was a discussion in there when they were founding our nation, and there were many who pushed for the United States Senate to be a fully unpaid position, to be fully volunteer. And John Adams pushed very forcefully against that and said, if we do that, we will never have ordinary working men in this body, that it will become an elite institution because only the very wealthy can afford to work for free. And I think there was some wisdom in that position. And I appreciate the motion because I do want this to be a body that working people can participate in. I'm not sure that the current salary level sets it at that point, but I think that I would like to see a legislature that feels the pain of working people and have people in here who are reflective of the populace. I would love to have people who are working at convenience stores, people who have ordinary jobs, be able to be in this body and have their voice heard. And I do hope that this salary increase will make that more possible.
Thank you. Any further discussion, committee members? Seeing none, the motion on the table, the motion is to lay on the table Senate Concurrent Resolution 101. Those in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed vote nay. Nay. The motion carries. Do the nays wish to be recorded? Yes. Okay, let it note Representative Crane votes nay. Committee, that is our only agenda item, so stay tuned. Representative Birch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a very small comment, a quick comment, if I may.
Is it related to the motion, or?
It's related to what just transpired.
I find that out of order at this time. Thank you. That's the only agenda item. So stay tuned for our next meeting, and the Ways and Means Committee is adjourned.